Hi parents, it's me, Mrs. Meller. I wanted to go over how to do prime and composite numbers in 4th grade. It might be a little bit different than you and I learned. When you and I learned, we did like prime factorization and factor trees and things like that. And our students will learn that. That's just something they learn more in like 6th, 7th grade. And so they want the children just to be able to identify if it has more than 2 factors, then it is composite, and if it only has 2 factors, it is prime. But that gets really difficult for my kids when there are really big numbers like 93 or 97, 51. They have a really hard time coming up with the factors for those numbers. So I've simplified it to 4 steps that if they will follow, they can figure out if it's prime or composite pretty quickly. The first step is it even? If it is an even number, it is always going to be composite. And they can stop right there and write composite. Number 2, does the number end in a 5 or a 0? If the number ends in a 5 or a 0, it's composite because it is now divisible by 5, and they can stop right there and they don't need to go any further. Number 3, can you divide it evenly by 3? If they can divide the number easily by 3, then it's going to be composite, and they can stop. I know there are like rules of divisibility that, if you add the 2 numbers together and it equals 3, 6, 9, or 12, then it's divisible by 3. I have not taught them that yet. I find that when I start adding in the actual rules of divisibility, it's just more for them to remember and more confusing for them. So they just do long division, divide the number by 3. If there's no remainder, it's composite. And the same thing with 7. There is a rule for the divisibility of 7, but I'm not going to teach them that rule. It just adds more for them to remember. They just do long division, divide the number by 7. If it divides evenly by 7 with no remainder, it's composite. If they have checked those 4 things and none of those work, then the number is prime, and it only has the factors of 1 and itself. There are a couple of exceptions to those 4 rules. The number 1 is neither prime or composite. The only factors of 1 is 1, 1 times 1, so there's just 1 factor. So it is neither prime or composite. The number 2, although it is an even number, is still prime because the only factors of 2 are 2 times 1. So that makes it prime because the true definition of prime is only 2 factors. And the number 5. 5 does end in a 5, so it is divisible by 5, but the only factors of 5 are 1 and 5, so it is prime. All other numbers will follow these 4 rules except for those 3. So hopefully that will help with tonight's homework. On your child's homework, I have listed those 4 rules at the top. If they will follow them, it should make homework pretty easy. But don't try to get into factor trees or prime factorization or rules of divisibility. All of that will come later as they continue to grow and progress in school. So if you have questions, please reach out. Thank you.